and gentlemen, thank you so much, Skimmy and Vandy. My name's Kit Fox. Welcome back, ladies and gents. The winner of this best of three series is going to be going through to play Rich Gang E-Thugs, who have knocked out Darksided in the losers bracket. Sorry, the loser of this will be playing Rich Gang E-Thugs, and then the winner of that game will come back and place whoever wins this game for the grand final. But it is the third game of this best of three. We're going over to Brax's Holdout. Lots of snowball potential on this map. I'm joined once again by my analyst, GL Phoenix, GLP. It's been a long haul, and we're here. Game number 3, and it has popped off.
Absolutely. And first off, Skimmy, you can't really see if I'm smiling because I'm just a stationary picture, but yeah, with the hell these games have been going, I've been smiling a hell of a lot. But so yeah, very excited about this one. And one thing that Vanny pointed out was that Outlaws have been very good at stalling out and playing for that long game, but you also mentioned that this is one of those maps where it can end in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
So, and that has been very much the kind of playstyle that Crimson have been kind of working towards throughout a lot of their games and has been able to make the most of. So I'm very cautious about how this game and even just this draft is going to go, because you have to be very aware of how much early aggression can come out of this Crimson lineup, and have to see if Outlaws can actually combat that.
But the way that Crimson execute, I think I'm going to have to favour them coming over the Outlaws here. I mean, we saw what they were able to do with the CC chain that really did run a train on the Outlaws at the end there. It was you know, almost R-rated to watch the way that they were
being the conductor of the train, just at the front,
yeah,
started off and then let it run through.
Just shoveling in coal for days in the form of Howling Blast. Says, what, you can't fit any more in? Well, let me just make another hole for you. And then the Outlaws just really had no answer at all. So we're going to get into Braxis. They've taken Genji and ETC off the board. Greymane is the first pick here for Crimson. Now, answered back quickly by Sonya Gul'dan. So when you think Braxis, you think Zergwave, you think, what can I do to answer that? Should I find myself on the receiving end? That's a lot of wave clear, and that's exactly what Sonya and Gul'dan do.
Yeah, we'll have to see how Crimson try and punish that yet again, because that's essentially what they've been doing time and time again, is punishing these very low mobility heroes like the Gul'dan, like the pretty much any backliner really. They've been just going straight in on them, just punishing them completely. And KVA has been the spearhead of that kind of playstyle. And there's so many heroes that we're going to see go towards. You could go towards the Arthas yet again, or even the new Barak that we saw earlier in the day. Both of those will be very good for dealing with that Gul'dan, but they are just going to go with pretty much the Braxis special of that Chromie, just bombing away from a long distance and pretty much controlling a lot of those spaces around the lanes.
So Crimson are actually on red and Outlaws are on blue. So Chromie, I love it. It's with Slowing Sands, you definitely nullify a fair chunk of the damage coming out there from that Zergwave. And it's just the right size for a choke point as well, when in terms of beacon control. So I really like the Chromie pick, but hey, will we see a hacky special? Will we see the temporal loop?
Oh god, please.
Let's
no.
hope
Let's
not.
let memes die, please.
Mate, he's never gonna live it down. I won't
he
let him.
is not gonna live that one down. It was most definitely a thing. But it is still a very strong pick, and especially for this map, we'll just have to wait and see. I kind of got them flipped around because we had Crimson on blue before, but so it's Crimson on red this time.
Mm-hmm.
They have the Sonya and the Gul'dan, and we'll have to see how they punish the Chromie, I guess.
Morala's taken off the board now from Outlaws, but Dahaka is gone from Crimson, so no global pressure, none of this cheeky split push shenanigans on the two-lane map. Just good old rotation, good old-fashioned legwork is what I like to call it. Will they go for a Lucio to complement that one? Because, hey, we saw it come out when Onyx went up against Mad Cosbad. Unfortunately, Mad Cosbad just proved why they were a class above in the end, and made pretty short work of them in a 9-minute game there on Braxis. Will we see that? I honestly don't think so again here, just because of what these two teams have been able to show us and put on for the 100 viewers that we got in Twitch chat. Shout out to you guys. We'll have I think we've got some stuff a little bit later on, but don't quote me on that. We'll get that confirmed. But,
yeah, I think going back to the Lucio point, I feel as though he's still very strong. The problem is that, especially going into that lineup that Outlaws have currently, Lucio doesn't have a cleanse, and he is very susceptible to burst. So that is just going to end up being with the Rhaegar going to be that pickup, and also the Garrosh. So yes, he has received a nerf, but he's still able to be played. It's just you have to play it differently. You can't just mindlessly Groundbreaker Wrecking Ball and all of a sudden you win a lane. You have to actually move to get that initiative. You have to be a little bit more forward. You have to you have to actually walk towards your opponent. Either start out with the Wrecking Ball or start with a Groundbreaker and then have to move forward. So it's a bit of a difference in playstyle than what it used to be, but it's still a very feared combo, especially if you get like the Chromie. If you start throwing that Chromie around, she is not in a very... She doesn't like that. She is a very squishy hero, and if she's put out of position, she is going to go down very quickly.
We might even see Bye-Bye picked up from Chromie if Garrosh and Rhaegar just cause problems, because think about it, I mean, Bye-Bye essentially removes Chromie from the fight, which is what the other team is trying to do. So I like to go for Stasis or the swap. It depends.
That was one thing I wanted to actually go back to. The Dahaka ban, I feel as though Crimson are trying to bait out the Ragnaros pick, because we've seen that Gondo essentially just goes for one of those two heroes into the solo lane. It's either Dahaka or the Ragnaros. I think Crimson are feeling as though that they are much better equipped to deal with a Ragnaros than they are a Dahaka because of the global map presence that can be brought on by that hero. And the Sonya can punish a Ragnaros if he's not careful. And if we do have something that can punish, that can come along to that lane and help try and get that gank pressure like we saw in the previous game, that's one way to punish that Ragnaros pick. Just have to wait and see what this last hero is going to be for Crimson. We could even see some kind of special thing like, I don't know, Valera or some of those stealth heroes that have been the potential. It could potentially work here if they want to try and really take them off guard. It's actually going to be the Sylvanas, so it's going to be something a bit more of a bit of an interesting tech decision. So they are going to be going for those very heavy pushes, and it's going to be very awkward for Outlaws to try and push into that. They'll want to force away the Sylvanas, but that will be putting them in a position to get flung around by that Garrosh. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play this around.
I like it. They needed some kind of cheese, and Sylvanas is good. So Altivian, the push game is as much of important it is as the beacon control, and if they were able to execute maybe the Chromie, the Ragnaros, or even the Malfurion, that will then allow Crimson to utilize that Sylvanas and get one big hell of a snowball going on. But it is the third map of this best of three. We're going to Braxis Holdout. It is one apiece. Crimson versus the Outlaws. Crimson on red, Outlaws on blue. As we get it on, I can see a lot of support for Outlaws in the chat. Manager Braxius is here to watch these boys do battle on Braxis Holdout. I'm sure there's a meme in there somewhere. Somebody with a lot more brain power than I whip it up.
Somewhere.
There's always a meme somewhere. So on blue, it is going to be Outlaws. Lahal on Chromie. Coffee on Greymane. Gondo on Ragnaros. IBW on Diablo. And Pandemonium, the manager, subbing in on Malfurion.
And on the red side, we have Crimson. We have Jesmez on the Sonya, we have Azure on Gul'dan, KVA is going to be on the Garrosh, we have Shadow on the support Rhaegar, and Altivian, as mentioned, is going to be on the Sylvanas. A very interesting tech option.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the other one you could have gone for was, Nazebo. He had a fair bit of value, but, hit by the nerf train pretty hard of late. Chromie, down in the bot lane.
Well, the thing is, it's not so much the nerfs or buffs or whatever you want to, the adjustments that hurt him, it's the adjustments that weren't made to him really hurt him. The gameplay changes of the lanes and just the way the game pace is right now. Those early, as we were mentioning earlier when it got picked up before, the early game the centric nature of the game right now makes it very hard for Nazebo to actually make work. Sure, we saw him get a win earlier, but they were getting pummeled for about 90% of that game. As we do get a nice engage on the top side as Jesmez gets locked down, but it's just going to whirlwind his way safety is. For teams, they're just going to be rushing down some forts, getting some of those early experiences.
Lahala's only missed one sound blast so far, so he's doing pretty well there, stacking them up. Or two, so commentators curse, 2 in a row. But the siege is going on the bot and the top, so Outlaws, they're going to lose the first tower. Oh, Lahala gets engaged on. Shadow comes in with the Earthshaker Totem, doesn't actually get the kill. Ghost Wolf's away, but the top tower going to be answered back by the Outlaws. So again, the push game is on. 5 seconds until this beacon phase, but not a lot going on. This is a game at the moment, GLP.
Yeah, it's just more about pushing as much as you can and then getting the most out of the Zerg wave. You can see that the lanes that are being pushed are where those Zerg waves are going to be pushing. So if whoever gets the big Zerg wave pushing in their favor, they're going to be pushing onto some very key structures. And with, it looks like KVA, they're going to get the flip down onto Lahal. They're going to just delete him. This is just going to open up this keep so very early on, but they do actually back away. They realize that the rotation is coming out from the side of the Outlaws, and they just back away completely.
Crimson now going on to this bottom beacon. They realize that the Outlaws were coming around. They're going the long way back, but they're actually going to answer back here. So Crimson, with that pick and the Wrecking Ball coming out, actually catching out poor old Lahal there on the Chromie. They'll take the advantage. Slight level lead here at the moment, but back just at 22%. The bottom beacon is going to go tick back over in favor of Outlaws. IBW realizes that they are going to be taking the Vikings over on the right-hand side there, and they will answer back with minions of their own, or will they? No, they're rotating to top, try and chunk down the beacon, but back again. It's just tit-for-tat seesaw play at the moment, GLP.
Yeah, it's just going to be that dance, the ring around the rosy, trying to just out-rotate your opponents. And now they just, Crimson are going to start moving their way in. They do have the slight experience lead, but nothing really to write home about. But they are in a position where they can pretty much stall out and get themselves some of the beacon progress. They do have both points, but they're going to start taking a lot of pressure coming out from the 5-stack. Coming out from the Outlaws, but they're okay to just back away from that. They're getting progress, and because of that better push at the very start, they're okay with getting any percentage on that beacon progress, because that is going to be pushing onto a very vulnerable keep.
It is, and regardless of what happens here, Crimson have 56% on the beacon, so they will have a semi-decent wave to push with. Meanwhile, IBW doing what a good Diablo does, and that is just plonk himself as the Guardian Sentinel of any point, and that is on that bottom beacon at the moment. That allows the Outlaws enough time to capture the Firebats. Speaking of Firebats, can I get some Blaze hype in the chat? Oh my god, he looks fantastic. He looks fantastic. Meanwhile, the dance is still going on here. Ringer, Posies, a pocket full of posies. There's not much going on. 6% now, still only on the side of the Outlaws. And will we get the rotations on? Yes, but at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's not so much about the big plays, the big high impact plays. It's just the little rotational nuances that's what is going to really impact the most in this game. And so far, it's Crimson that's been a little bit ahead of the game, and with the help of that Sylvanas, they've been able to get that little bit of advantage, and now they're going to start moving their way towards that bottom keep that is already so vulnerable. They can start just poking away at it with that cooldown. They do get a nice lockdown onto the Garrosh. He's going to start locking down. He does have a lot of armor, but he's going to manage to try and step away a little bit, but with that Molten Core, that's going to secure that kill, but it's just going to force Crimson to back away, and they're actually going to be able to get some more beacon progress for themselves and almost get themselves a full Zerg wave. So in the end, that's not giving up too much for that.
It's not too bad at all. 88%. That's where it will tick back over. Crimson, Outlaws with the answer so far. All they're doing is just patchwork style play here. They're just stemming the flow that the Crimson lads are able to put on here. We've finally got some contesting up on the point as Outlaws get it ticking in their favour. 20% Gul'dan gets taken down in the bot lane. They're still running away. Here come Outlaws with a massive, massive rotation. KVA doesn't actually spot it. They get away.
There's a lot of space because that fort has been down so early. They're able to just catch them out.
Big Shadow charge coming out there, catching Shadow himself. Terrain stun as well into the wall.
On the bottom side, the beacon has been taken again by KVA, and that is just going to be the full Zerg wave. They can't get to the beacon in time. That's going to be a 100% and only 20 on the side of Outlaws on the top side. So that's going to be very easy for Preseason to deal with. But that 100%, it should very well take care of that keep on the bottom side, unless, well, I'm just trying to think. Will they be able to deal with that 100% Zerg wave? They have, the mini wave has been pushed to a reasonable length, but that is a lot of Zerg pushing down.
They need to rotate now. They need to put their Sylvanas down there in that bottom lane, but I think they're going to be able to get it. They'll get probably... I don't even think they'll get a top turret here. Sorry, a top fort. If they were able to clear this one out, they're going to take down... Oh no, they will actually be able to get that one.
They can just disable. So instead of trying to make the most of that one Zogo, they're using, or taking down that keep, they're using that as a definite pressure point to just push on the other side of the map, making sure they get that experience advantage by taking out that top keep, top fort, sorry, just opening up the map even more. But now we get an interesting rotation through the middle of the map coming up from Outlaws, trying to catch out any just dangerous rotation as they do pick off the Garage. He's got so much damage, he's going to drop immediately, and that's a great start to fight for the Outlaws.
Yeah, well done there. They actually caught him out. I thought if you're going to run into somebody, the person you don't want to be is probably Garrosh, but they made it work there in the end. Sonya was too far away. Jesma's now finally coming back down. They're making the call to go for the boss here. The pings are coming out from the side of Crimson. They know what's up because they see Chromie. That was unfortunate. They see Chromie's slowing sands over there. Are we going to get the jump on? Sonya needs to get in there. Jesmez with the hook. Diablo goes down. It's still anybody's boss. They're trying to hulk him out. You can see Withering Fire doing damage, and it's pinched from Crimson. That is a throw pit and a half. And Outlaws got wiped by the Wombo combo last game. This time, they're dishing out
themselves.
Yeah, they were themselves.
I mean, I can see the idea in that play. They took out the Garage, that's their front line out of the way, but they were taken down so very much, not just by the boss itself, that it's so dangerous to go for. Any point in the game, they also lost just a decent amount just from the previous fight, and they were way too low, and there was just no fear coming out of Jesmez and the Shadow. You just like dive straight in, no fear whatsoever, and just clean up that fight. They were way too low. They can't actually stand on the point. Lahal can't stand on that point. He's a Chromie. He's not supposed to be anywhere near the center of the fight. It's take a lot of damage. Oh, brilliant Ancestral as it just gets him out of the clutch of death. But that is a nice turnaround coming out from Crimson after losing out a little bit earlier.
Gondo will be a little bit disappointed with that, but the consolation that he can take away is that he baited out Shadow's Ancestral. That's now down for a 100-second cooldown. It's massive. So now they'll be looking to engage here. They're only down one level. They're on a exact same talent tier. So Outlaws will be trying to fight this one. Yes, they don't have the Molten Core, but without the Ancestral healing, you take down that Rhaegar, there goes the sustainability from Crimson. And you're sitting pretty. Meanwhile, we get the Tango on again, but they need to engage. They need to engage now before Crimson can hit 13.
Yeah, and especially with that kick down on the bottom side, that is going to be an inevitable point of pressure coming out from the side of Crimson. And now they've got a nice engage coming out from IBW. They do lock down the Shadow, but they're not able to finish him off just yet. Gets onto all of the members, but Tivian is going to be the first one to fall. But they're taking so much damage on the backside. Azure is doing so much work on the cooldown. He finally gets cleared up with a lot of lockdown. As the damage is starting to rail across the members of Crimson, but this is actually just going back and forth. But Jesnez on this Sonya is just doing so much work, and KBA is just surviving, but it's actually going to turn around in favor of Crimson. This Sonya Garrosh combination is just too beefy and has so much to stand in these fights that it's just a little bit too much to deal with, and in the end, it's going to go in favor of Crimson, even though it looked like it was a pretty good start to the fight for Outlaws.
They're going to take the beacons now. Chromie throws out the Time Walker's Pursuit, but there's a lot of damage about to be poured in onto the core here, but losing Pandemonium early on in that fight really cost Outlaws there. Without those heals and that CC coming in that narrow choke point where they were deciding to fight, it was pretty much GG's from there as soon as Panda went down. So the beacon now going over in favour of Crimson, and they'll get that one ticking up. They're actually going to go for an invade here, steal the Viking camp, but will Gondo actually spot them out? No, he decides against it, passes it over to Crimson. Just a little bit too late there throwing down the Meteor, but hey, they're looking very, very good. This could be a win here. Should they get the snowball on? Should Sylvanas find value? Should they get the kill onto anybody here from the Outlaws? KVA needs to be careful. Oh, he walks over a trap. That's going to open it up for Lahal to do damage. No, the Horrify comes out, actually catches Pandemonium there, preventing the root. So well done. Just clutch play there. Gondo not wasting any time. Straight into the Molten Core.
Yeah, and with this great coming in, that's better time than ever. You've got a giant wave coming in, you've got the Zerg wave coming in, and you've got the members of Crimson just knocking at your doorstep. The leap comes in straight onto the Chromie. They want to take her down immediately, but a great Sulfurous Smash locked down so many members of the Crimson lineup. They do take down the Sonya immediately, but will they be able to keep this fight going? Twilight Dream doesn't really get too much. Actually, they do manage to lose the Greyman, and now the Shadows in there trying to punch on as the wolf form of Raygo, and it looks like they're just going to be able to trade back and forth in this fight, Kit.
Yeah, well, it's trading so far, currently in favour of Crimson slightly. Oh, now they've lost Chromie, have Outlaws. That is not going to be good at all. I'll tell you what, I was questioning Shadow's decision to throw that the Ancestral onto Azure there over KVA, but it was the right call in the end, because seeing how low Azure was there and KVA just able to sustain with that Bloodthirst, coming in clutch at the nick of time, so well done there. They've lost the top keep, so Outlaws now, they're hemorrhaging from all entrances. And they are really going to struggle here. They need to pay attention to their lanes. It's like you got Shamans pushing every single time. Those catapults are really going to hurt. There's still some Zerg up in the top lane. And Panda will be going, come on guys, we've just dropped the ball a little bit here. We're not down and out yet. And just a little bit of an oversight.
Well, one thing about leaving some of these later Zergs up, just delaying the finishing off, it means that it's going to take longer for the
that's very true
neutral camps to come up, so it's going to delay that pushing pressure. So it's allowing Outlaws to just kind of settle themselves, get some of the experience back, and just kind of reset the game a little bit. And they can do that just by delaying the death of this last Zerg. And we can see, like Crimson, they're sitting here waiting for this last Zerg to die before they can make a play, because nothing happens until the Zerg are cleaned up and then the map resets.
Yeah. There you go. Smart. Well done. That's why you're the analyst. So, now Crimson, they're just silently sitting there. You're right, they're not making anything about it. They can't. They need to push or just wait. Really?
And now we're starting to see Crimson, they realize that this is the way the rest of this game is going to go. This last Guardian is actually just going to stick around and not really going to die. They're not going to kill it off. So this is forcing Crimson into the base, which is probably the best option that the Outlaws can actually hope for. Try and get a fight before the level 16 hits. That last Zerg does go down, but they're now in a position where the fight can happen. And Shadow he's going to get caught out, and he dies immediately.
Oh no, Jesmez manages to pull away there. Sulfurous Smash comes across, connects on his melon, and that is going to be 2 quick frags on the side of Outlaws. Crimson struggling a bit. They're making the call for the boss now. They've got damage pouring onto the base. Ragnaros goes back, so they're going to be doing this boss with 4. Remember what happened last time? I remember.
Panda taking so much damage from the boss, it dropped below half, and
they're going to get it.
They're just going to let it go. They realize that this is only going to be pushing into a fort. They're okay to defend that. They don't need to try and risk a play that could just make things worse. They're even getting some damage onto the core of Outlaws because of all those catapults coming in. They're still in a reasonable position. It was just a little bit unfortunate that Shadow's a little bit late in rotating away from that position. Gets caught out, and Jesmez a little bit questionable whether or not he should have been trying to help save his support, who was quite obviously out of position and ended up getting taken down as well. So a nice start of a comeback for the Outlaws, but they still have a lot of work to do. But they're in a very good position to make something happen out of this.
They definitely can. So they're gonna get their second fort of the game. Now they're going to turn their attention to the keeps now. That's where they need to open up something here just to counter the lane pressure that they've got pouring in because of Crimson being so aggressive. Crimson now have lost that level advantage the throw comes in now. Ragnaros into the Molten Core. Gondo from the back line, just hopping spells for days, opens it up now. Will they start damaging the keep? Yes, they do. Sylvanas trying to say something about it, but Crimson, they don't want to fight this. They want to let the boss soak up as much damage as it can before clutching on the core.
They're allowed to let that keep go. All it does is just equalize the pressure of the lanes on that bottom side of the map. If they were to try and fight that and it goes south, that's just the game right there, and they have to be very careful with how they play this, as they do get a good lockdown onto Jez, as they're not able to finish him off. As Altivian is taking so much damage, he's trying to get out of there, he does. The Ancestral goes in onto Jezmez, they do get a good lockdown, they lock down 2 moments, Panda moments taking so much damage, and that's enough to bring it down. The core is taking so much damage though, on the side of Crimson. They have to try and clean out the boss goes down, they do manage to start cleaning up the kills, and that is just going to be all of Outlaws going down. They tried so hard. They had to make that play happen, but it just wasn't enough. Just the slightest of margins, 28% on the core of Crimson, but they do manage to get the ace. Sure, IBW is going to be back on the Diablo thanks to the respawning, but he is not going to be able to do too much. He's just going to essentially run it down, just do as much as he can.
He's going to get on Tivian!
Yeah, it's a nice kill, but to be honest, I don't believe it's going to be enough. He is just
13 seconds. 13 seconds. Yeah, KV is just going to be able to soak it up, I think, and Azure's going to come in. Diablo is still around IBW 47% and climbing. Back comes Malfurion, Pandemonium trying their best. In comes the Twilight Dream, silences everyone, but they're just going to get it in the end there. There was a glimpse of hope at the end, and not like this is what Outlaws are saying. They throw in the end. It was a seesaw play, and sorry, go on.
Well, it's hard to call that one a throw at the end because they realized that was pretty much their last-ditch effort. They had to make that play because they were put behind so far. They lost both of their keeps. They had already taken damage on their core, and they had to make something happen. That boss was their play. The whole lead up to that was very well done, very well coordinated, and managed to get a couple of picks, get the boss. They had to make that happen. If they didn't, they were getting out-rotated consistently. And with that consistent pressure in the lanes, they couldn't play that rotation game efficiently enough. So they had to make that play happen. They almost got it to work. It was only about 30% left on the core, but it just wasn't nearly enough. And Crimson, they are going to be able to hold on and take that series 2-1.
I haven't seen the top of ANZ so close in a very, very long time, and it makes me so happy to see games like that. So well done. Congratulations to Crimson coming out with the victory there over Outlaws, who are definitely going to be ones to watch coming into the upcoming HGC season. But for now, I'm going to pass you back over to the desk, Skimmy and Vandy, to break that one down.
Well, there's a lot to break down in that one. That was a game of, I don't even know where to begin with that one. It was two very different compositions. One that had all the focus in the world on picking or finding that one-shot potential versus a comp coming out of Crimson, all about siege and anti-siege. And for the most part, the early game was quite interesting, right? They went for that keep trade. Obviously, it was going to play into the hands of Crimson because they had the Sylvanas, and that allowed them to drop that keep to about 10%, as we like to say. You could sneeze in it, and it would fall over.
Our favorite.
And the desperation boss by Outlaws was questionable, right? They felt like, hey, we're losing on the macro. We're not finding enough picks to justify this XP lead to try and keep up square to square. Let's go for the boss. It wasn't to be enough. Crimson collapsed onto it. And for the most part, they were really commanding that game. Hey, but there's one fragment where Shadow gets called out, and you're thinking, have they just thrown? I'm looking to my right, seeing KVA, face is dripping with sweat despite it being 15 minutes outside. And I'm like, come on, bro, don't you dare lose. They come through. What a better way to finish off a best of 3.
It was amazing. And even that last-ditch attempt by Outlaws trying to pinch the rug right under Crimson, it was amazing to watch. They knew that was as good as it was going to get in terms of chances, and they had to take it. And they played it quite well. But we could sort of see, Panda, she just got caught. There's too much pressure coming out. No, she dropped quite early in the fight. And then it just sort of went south. If they were able to get a pick and then focus on their core, it was 28%. So it was so close. Like you said, that all really came about because of Icebold's pick on the Shadow. He wasn't able to rotate out fast enough. And GeoPhoenix said if Jesmez was able to leap to try and distract them, and then maybe they could have engaged on that because they were caught retreating. Yeah. And then Shadow was just in the worst possible place, and he just got completely annihilated. So it was
a bit
very
of a situation for them, hey, because they were so far away from level 16. Both the keeps were fully pushed in. There was nothing really they could do. There was no lanes to soak. There were no mercenaries to pick up. So they're thinking, do we just wait in the bush for a minute? That's what they did. They tried to do the anti-Chinese bush meta on ice-boiled water, but he wasn't going to fall for any of those shenanigans. He was ready and came prepared.
He's like, do you know who I am? I'm Chinese. I know this meta.
I know exactly how to beat my own meta. So
yeah, exactly. China #1 as far as Iceball's concerned. But it was just such an enjoyable game to watch. Like you said, the two different approaches that the teams took, very, very smart. And this is what I mean about Outlaws, just the way they're able to claw themselves back into the game, even after that boss throw. They were a second off completing it, and that would have given them enough breathing room to get 10 to sort of give themselves some momentum. Instead, didn't quite work out that way, but yet they still managed to make a big play, and that was the Diablo. So Icebold, again, when push really comes to shove, keep your eye on this player because he's going to do great stuff.
Indeed, he will. And let's bring it back into the scheme of things. What does this all mean for today? Well, let's actually have a look in with the bracket right now. That means Crimson are guaranteed at least first or second as they birth themselves into the grand finals. They'll be going up against whoever comes out of this next best of three. This is deciding between Outlaws and the Rich Gang E-Fugs, made up of Family Force subbing on in for those guys, as Jim Jam is AFK. Much like the video, he's probably swimming in a dirty river somewhere. But no, that's actually Rich Gang who knocked out Darksided. So bear that in mind.
They got even.
They've made things happen. Yeah, I'm sure Ben can go to sleep tonight saying, well, it's not BlizzCon, but it still feels good.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll bring up the bracket for you guys as we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We've got another game coming up. That's going to be Outlaws versus Rich Gang. So these guys have got knocked out pretty early, Rich Gang, but they managed to take back a game from Darksided in the loser bracket to make their way back. So it's going to be a very interesting game. As we've said, the games are super duper close. So we'll be right back after a short break.